Just one.
You finna have one?
She don't want to get chicklets dirty.
I'd just like to get this done.
What the hell was that?
This is Bling My Wedding.
What do you get when fashion meets carnival? Fashion and carnival designers from around the world are heading to the beautiful islands of Trinidad and Tobago to battle each other for a cash prize, a trip to an international fashion week, and the title of King or Queen of the Catwalk. Crazy challenges, gorgeous designs, magnificent costumes, celebrity judges. Who will be voted off the island?
No,
No.
because it's wearable art. That is what fashion is.
For Anita, everything was perfectly planned.
You have the perfect engagement party, perfect ring. I'm so jealous of you.
But on an island where every day brings new possibilities,
That one guy's doing all the music. He better be good.
Here we go.
You can get lost in music. The whole world is black and white. And then boom, everything's in color. It makes me feel
Basodi.
women.
Hi guys, welcome back. Happy Wednesday to all of you guys. I love seeing some familiar names in our chat. Welcome to another edition of Caribbean Network Lunch and Learn, where we provide our community, and even if you're pulling up for the first time, free access to ideas, strategies, tools, tips, anything under the umbrella of business development, because our purpose is really simple. We want to support, connect, and amplify Caribbean creatives and small business owners in this crazy world of entrepreneurship. And every time we have a Lunch and Learn, we try to tackle a different topic to help you level up along your business or professional journey. And sometimes I lead the sessions, but sometimes we have incredible guests. And today it's one of those days that we have someone who is going to be speaking with us. And we're so thrilled because they're joining us from overseas in Trinidad and Tobago, I believe. I know that they're in Trinidad and Tobago and they're located in the US, both back and forth, but I believe they're in Trinity today. And what you saw as you were coming into our stream today was just a little teaser of their company that we're going to learn a little bit about what they do and how the services that this company provides can actually help someone in this chat today, or maybe more than one person, and possibly change your entire business life. So if you haven't already, please say hi. We love to know where our viewers are tuning in from. And of course, as I said, I love seeing some familiar names. Welcome, Pamela. Welcome back, Desianne. Welcome, Latasha. Welcome, Raquel. Again, my name is Nicole Grimes. I'm the CEO founder of CBN, and I'm just thrilled to continue the series with you all today. And I hope you're able to take away lots of wisdom and learnings from our session today. So let's dive right in and get started. All right. So I want to start off with a really, really important metric. And this, while I know we have some viewers who are tuning in from the international landscape, I do want to share that this metric is based on data from the US, which is where CBN is based, and a great majority of our business owners are. All right. It's a sobering statistic. 33% of small businesses in underserved communities, meaning business owners of color or their location, like their urban location, only 33% of all the people who actually apply for any kind of funding, whether it's a loan, a grant, whatever, actually receive the funding, successfully are able to receive that funding. We're talking about only a third. And we know how, if you've actually ever applied for a loan or a grant in the chat, let us know. Let us know if it was that a thumbs up experience, like it worked out, you got it, or a thumbs down, like it didn't work out. I'm curious, I want to know. Please feel free to share if this applies to you. And this is one of the reasons why we're having this session today, because of a statistic like this. And why is this true? Because a lot of us know there are a lot of obstacles to actually getting access to capital if you are a small business owner. In the US specifically, again, because that's where we're based, but this is true across the diaspora, across the Western Hemisphere. There are lots of challenges trying to get access to capital. And the first is, number one, a lot of banks and a lot of lenders, they will look at your personal credit. So if you have a limited credit history or not so great credit scores, and again, the credit score thing is very specific to the US, you're going to be affected. You're probably not going to be able to get your hands on some needed cash to infuse and pour into your business. So that's number one. Number two, lack of collateral or business assets. Some traditional banks actually want to see that you have some actual assets, whether it's a home or other major financial assets to help so they can feel comfortable giving you a loan. And obviously, if you're a new small business or you're an early stage business, you don't have a lot of assets. So there's nothing for them to look at to be like, oh, for them to determine, oh, you're a trustworthy client that we want to hand over lots of money to. So a real challenge if you're small and chinky and you're just starting off and you just don't have a lot to help propel you in the way that you want to move forward. Business documentation. This is something that a lot of new business owners struggle with. Don't have decks, don't have financial statements, don't have a P&L. If you don't know what a P&L is, that's a problem. It's a document you should have. Tax records, right? Actual tax records and filings. So just not having clear business, specifically financial documentation in order, because when you are applying for any kind of grant or loan, a lot of times they want to see some paperwork to be able to process or move you forward in an application process. And that's a real challenge that continues to plague our community. And number four, a big one that a lot of us in the US are familiar with, literally systemic inequity and plain out discrimination, where we see time and time again, the statistics show, the data shows that women, people of color, immigrants who are trying to get loans, applying for grants, applying for financing in some way, shape, or form, they're often facing bias. And that bias shows up in they either getting turned down or they get accepted, but their interest rates are different from different business owners, white business owners. Like statistics actually show that entrepreneurs of color often get loans at much higher rates to pay back. So this is clearly a problem. And it's a real challenge. It's a challenge for even myself, right? As a founder of color in the US, despite all the work that I do and all the documentation I have, these are real challenges. And it's partially why we decided to try to tackle this topic again today for our small business community. And number 5, another one is like some people just not knowing what to apply for. They don't have the time, they don't have the energy, or they don't even realize they may qualify for certain things, like just actually even knowing what might be out there in general. So the moral of the story is there are lots of obstacles. I probably didn't need to share this with all of you guys, but because you live it, you feel it, you've encountered it. But this is the grim reality that that is the access to capital landscape for most founders of color or most micro founders who are just starting things out. All right. So I have a question. And I really, really, really want you guys to answer this. We all know, like, oh my gosh, all of us would kill to get like our hands on some cash right now. But if you had 100K USD, let's say USD, if you had 100K USD right now, somebody dropped that into your bank today, what is the first thing you would do with that money? What is the first thing you would do with that cash right away? It seems like a silly question, but it's a legit question because it's one thing to actually work on trying to get access to capital, but it's another thing to actually know how to use it strategically and smartly, pretty much, like to use it in a really wise way. Anyone, what would you do with 100K if you had 100K right now? There are a ton of you in here. So someone, please feel free to share with us. What would you do with 100K USD today with your business? I'm waiting. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Anyone? Pamela, what about you? Oh, Denise, I have to plan it to look at my biz budget. Denise said, pay debt. Awesome. Pay on debt. You probably all have debt. Raquel says, become an employer. So basically hire people, hire a team. Awesome. Latasha says, pay off business debt and invest and reinvest the rest into marketing. I love that. That's a great one. Lexi says PR and marketing. Yes, another really great one. Desian says a combination of marketing and building new infrastructure for my business. I love these. These are really, really great, very, very smart strategic goals in ways to use cash. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, Pamela shared invest in stocks and buy a building. Yes, I love that. Buy a building. Ownership is so key as part of our journeys. I love this. Thank you guys for sharing that. Well, before we dive in to talking about how to maybe get our hands on some money, like one viable option today, I want to remind you guys, while you're listening to the rest of our talk today, what are things that I should be thinking about or actually seriously considering to spend money on, right? If you're thinking about growing or scaling. And I imagine that's why you're here. You want money, you're interested in finding money to grow and scale as a small business owner. So number 1, you want to think about investing in revenue generating activities, right? Revenue generating activities, like you're using that money to like help with marketing, which some of you said, launching a new offer, improving your whole customer acquisition process, right? Money should make more money. That's the whole point of getting your hands on it. 2, you should consider upgrading your systems and automation, right? We are literally dead smack in this Gen AI world where automation is just like skyrocketed tenfold. So thinking about getting a CRM, if you don't know what that means, that means it's time to look into what that is. Getting a CRM, getting accounting software, and just other ways of automation to help streamline your business and like just prevent burnout. 3, someone said this, hiring, outsourcing, key roles in your small business, right? Delegating administrative duties, marketing, and just full packaging things, right? Just general fulfillment task if you have a product-based business. That's definitely something you should consider investing money in if you get your hands on it. 4, building a cash reserve, right? Planning for a 3 to 6 month runway, like having peace of mind as a small business owner is priceless, especially since all of us know money comes today. You're not really sure what might happen in 3 months or 6 months or so on. So just creating a cash reserve when you get your hands on some funds. Number 5, expanding your offerings, right? Like adding new services, adding new products, like or delivery channels, right? Or maybe you might need to pivot. Maybe something's not been working and now it's time you want to do something a little different and offer a slightly different product or slightly different service. And last but not the least, this is just as important and everything else above it, professional development. Learning, taking courses, attending conferences, joining masterminds, getting a business coach, putting yourself in situations to learn, level up, because smart founders keep learning, that they recognize that learning is an integral part of growth and it never, ever, ever stops. So I just wanted to share some things that you should be thinking about if you really haven't like narrowed in concretely on all the things that you might want to consider working on. If you get your hands on some serious capital. And now, where is that capital, right? Where is the money? Well, as a small business owner, you can get a traditional bank loan, right? We know that. We can get microloans from smaller institutions. We can get grants. We know that there are tons of those. But for some of us, we know that grants are very, very competitive. Like so many people apply to grants, and it's super tough to actually get one if you apply. Some of us have turned to or could consider turning to a fundraising campaign, right? Like Indiegogo, etc. Some of us have used friends and family, right? For maybe initial investments or just little like investments along the way to help infuse or integrate into our budgets. There are lots of online lenders, other fintech tools that gives you like little bits of cash here and there. And of course, there are investors, which probably I would imagine a lot of you might not have dabbled in, or like just like I'm not even there, I'm not thinking about it. But we actually want to present one option today. That's the whole premise of today's session, to talk about a possibility, a pipeline, an opportunity to consider infusing some cash into your business if you're a creative business specifically, right? And just getting some help to move that needle and plugging in some capital in one of those 6 ways that I just mentioned. And this leads us to our special guest today. I want to introduce to you a really, really important, well-known figure on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago in the creative sector. She is also the general manager of C15 Studios under Aspire in Trinidad and Tobago. Her name is Lorraine O'Connor, and I want to welcome her to the stage with us today. Hello, Lorraine. Hello.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here, on this with you, Nicole. You are amazing as well. And you always, you're on point when it comes to reaching out to the community and the creatives, not just the creatives, the entrepreneurs. So thank you for inviting me to share a little bit what C15 does.
Thank you. And I want to just kind of preface a little bit before we dive into some Q&A. And we also have some special guests who are going to join us today, guys. So stay tuned. There's some special guests who are popping in shortly that you're going to be able to learn from a little bit about their journey to getting access to capital. But I want to say to help everyone understand, like, how did we get here? So in full transparency, I was a consultant on a project 2 years ago in Trinidad and Tobago, which is where I'm from. But I live in Brooklyn, New York. But I went down to Trinidad and Tobago, and Lorraine was on the same project. She was assisted on the same project. It was an entertainment event-focused project. And that's where our paths first crossed. And I first learned about Lorraine's work at the helm of C15 Studios. Even though Lorraine is based in Trinidad, C15 Studios is a Caribbean-based company. They are very, very, very interested in the U.S. economy and creatives here in the U.S., hence why Lorraine is here, because there's opportunity for us across the diaspora to connect with this company and learn a little bit more about what they do. Is that fair to say, Lorraine?
That's very, very fair to say. And because we see, first of all, we see ourselves as a region, not just as one island. So there's a region. But then, of course, we want to do more work with directly reaching out to the US and vice versa, and the US reaching out to the Caribbean. So this is super important for us in our expansion. You know, it's really all about these strategic partnerships, and also increasing, you know, you pointed out that 33%, and it really is disturbing number. And what C15 is about is really supporting, you know, the region and the diaspora to bring those creative dreams to light, because we know, we as Caribbean people, that, you know, we have so much talent, and this is really about how do we monetize that talent, and how do we, you know, become successful by doing that and spreading, you know, the spreading to the world. So
oh, sorry,
we're not,
go ahead.
well, just to finish off, we're really not insular. We want to be global, you know.
Absolutely. And I think for me, you said a key phrase, which is like wanting to amplify the work of the incredible creative people in our, right, from our world, from our diaspora, from the region, but also helping them understand that there's a big difference. There's a big leap between being a creative and being a creative entrepreneur. Like, you're trying to develop a real solid business and generate revenue, like real revenue. For those who came in right at the beginning, you saw that there was like a video showing that was actually a client reel of C15 Studios. And I want to pull it back on the screen for a really short minute or so, just so that you guys have a sense of the breadth and scope of clients that C15 have invested in and help make these massive, incredible projects happen. So if you guys would indulge me, again, this is the C15 showreel of some of their clients. So whether you're being entertained, you're like, I don't know why this is here. These are all clients of C15 Studio Limited in Trinidad and Tobago.
Catch one.
You finna have one?
She don't wanna get chicklets dirty.
I'd just like to get this done.
What the hell was that?
This is Bling My Wedding.
What do you get when fashion meets carnival? Fashion and carnival designers from around the world are heading to the beautiful islands of Trinidad and Tobago to battle each other for a cash prize, a trip to an international fashion week, and the title of King or Queen of the Catwalk. Crazy challenges, gorgeous designs, magnificent costumes, celebrity judges. Who will be voted off the island?
No, because it's wearable art. That is what fashion is.
For Anita, everything was perfectly planned.
I want to stop there, but the the client show reel is actually like 6 minutes long, right, Lorraine? But wanted to just show you a clip. And the point of showing you guys that clip was to show you the scope and the range of very different kinds of creative clients, whether they were product-based clients, there were shows, it was film, they were a tech company that C15 Studios has been an instrumental part of bringing to life and helping get to the next level, or just actually making something happen for real. Most excitedly, Carnival Catwalk was something that came out last year. I think, was it late last year in the Caribbean?
Yeah, it was released in January. It premiered in January this year, actually.
This year, okay, awesome. I still haven't seen it. Hopefully one day I will be able to. And just to point out something, I saw that there was a clothing store in there, right? The Hideout Clothing. Is that the clothing store that's located in Paris?
Yep. Actually, he's trying to join right now. He's going to be joining us as one of the guests.
No way!
Yes,
Is that what a surprise? We just let the surprise out the bag?
I let it out the bag, but look, that's him, Bass Studio, you see?
Wow.
So he actually, got financing from C15, and it's a Trinidad brand that, decided to expand. They were already established in the US, but instead of opening their flagship store in the US, he decided to open it in France because he has French background. And they have a flagship store in Paris, and I'll let him tell us more about it. Let's bring him on.
You want to bring him on right away?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know if is he ready to come on. I wanted to ask you one quick question though. Maybe you could ask one quick question before we pull him on.
Yeah.
Because I just saw him backstage, so you can breathe a little bit back there. We're gonna pull you up soon. I wanted you to just say a little bit about what's the criteria, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody comes to you and they're like, I need some finance, I need some help. Could you talk a little bit about what is C15 looking for? What is an ideal business that you would see and you'd be like, yes, this sounds like a good idea. We want to be a part of helping this company grow?
Yeah, well, actually, I had a list because it's not just one thing, but if I had to, touch on one thing, it definitely would be, commitment from the principals. That's key, and that's not in the list. But what we really look at is, one is the market assessment. What is the market? The business model viability and the structure of the business. As you said, it's so important. If you don't know what a P&L, a profit and loss is, if you don't have, cash flow projections of your company, if you don't have an idea of the group where you want to reach, what the scale is, because today you may be at a certain level of income, but where do you want to reach? And you have to have a plan, like a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. So those are things that obviously we're going to look at. So that is part of the criteria of how we would review people. Of course, the creative value and the IP, so important nowadays. Like, what is the brand strength and who owns the IP? Where is the IP house? Because a brand has its own value today. What are the leadership talent? Who's on your management team? Who's running the business? I saw some people say if they had $100,000, they would hire staff. All right. So, like, what would be your ideal organigram if you had $100,000? And then, of course, the financial evaluation. Like, what are the numbers? Profitability, growth metrics. What is your hunting strategy? History. And then also we have to think exit strategy. So an investor or a financier wouldn't come into a business for the long term, in the sense where you're not coming just, to live together for the next 15, 20 years. Usually they want to come in 3 to 5 years, 7 years max, look at the exit strategy. So if you're analyzing a business, you want to see, well, okay, if we put X amount of dollars behind this, what could be the growth? And then what would be our exit, so that's super important. Of course, digital and technological readiness, like how prepared are you all, in this digital presence, your social media presence, that's super important. Of course, the social, environmental and cultural impact of what the project is. And of course, the regulatory, well, as I said, the structure, like how are you set up? And then comes in the risk assessment, like what is really the risk here? So there are a lot of factors. It's not, remember, because this is other people's money that you're putting. And when you lose other people's money, then they don't want to invest with you again, And the sector that we represent, which are the creative sectors, are usually considered high risk. So, we have to show that, in fact, the opportunities that we are presenting or that are being presented to us are less risky, or less risk ones. So all those things come into play, But as you also saw on the reel, people have qualified. So it may sound daunting and unreachable right now, but about setting those goals and working towards.
And I also want to point out two important things. One, we will definitely share the link shortly with you guys to see all of the criteria, at least as per C15 Studios that's identified on their website. But know that this is general criteria for most, right? For similar companies, they all want to see these things. They're all going to be looking at these elements to determine whether you are investable and they see real promise in you and want to give you some money. I wanted to actually follow up with just asking you, what does the process look like? But I feel like we could probably just pull up our guests who are both backstage now and have them talk about what the process was like for them. So we could hear it readily from the mouths of two founders who are part of the C15 family and who are successful, thriving businesses currently. So first I want to bring up, I hope I don't butcher anyone's name, I want to bring up Sebastian Gibbert of Hideout Clothing. He's the founder and he's located in Paris, France. I want to welcome Sebastian to our live stream today. Welcome. Is it just Bass?
Thank you.
Bass.
Yeah, Bass is my nickname.
Bass
Everybody
is your
calls
nickname.
me Bass for short. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, thank you for inviting me and having me today.
Thank you, Lorraine. And next, I want to introduce the CEO of Pavilion. His name is Gian Franco, and we're so thrilled to have you join us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. It's a little mini C15 reunion of sorts, or maybe meeting for the first time.
We love this. We love because everybody's in different locations. Well, Gian is in Trinidad right now, but usually he's in the States. Well, Sebastian's in Paris, and I am between. Well, you're in New York. I like when we meet from all different parts of the world, and showcase how Caribbean culture, penetrates.
Yeah, Caribbean people, we're everywhere doing the damn thing, as I like to say.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with you, Baz, since we got a little peek of your store from the C15 reel. And I personally never met you. I've only seen the brand online. So can you tell us a little bit about the brand story and how did you end up meeting C15 and how did they become part of your entrepreneurial life?
So we're a brand that started in Trinidad and Tobago. It was me and my best friend at the time, who unfortunately passed away, who started the brand. We had some good success in the US and we saw potential to expand into Europe. So that's kind of like the first idea was, how could we get a foot into Europe? So I was born in France. So for me, it kind of became this idea of expanding to France first and then by extension, Europe. And I thought, why not Paris? Because Paris is one of the fashion capitals of the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I figured if we could get a foothold in Paris and make some good movement out here, we could take a big step towards achieving our goals in the fashion industry. So so that's basically in a nutshell how the idea came about, and then the idea came about to approach C15 to see how we could work together to establish ourselves out there and grow the brand into the bigger, larger vision and goal of what we'd like to achieve to make it really a fashion house that can generate a lot of money, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be ashamed of saying that. That's why we're in business, right? We're in business.
Of course.
Make profit. We have an idea and we see the potential. Could you tell us a little bit about why you decided on C15 and like what the process was like from that first couple meetings, and then how did you move through what the process was like to actually like then securing funds in the end, and what did that look like?
Of course. So, well, I think initially it's hard to find funding in the creative sectors. So that's definitely why C15 was like definitely a viable option for us. So the process was, initially it started with just meetings, initial discussions, seeing like the general feasibility of our project, and then we took the idea and worked very hard on a pitch deck, if you want, a very, very detailed pitch deck of our company, where we started our journey, where we come from, all of our assets, all of our financials, of course, which is very important. And then, of course, presenting our project and future project and projections as well. So it's really based on that pitch deck. And that pitch deck, even though it was used for working together with C15, also cleared up a lot of stuff in our head. So there is benefit if anyone's listening to actually do a pitch deck. Maybe if you don't have exactly someone in mind as yet to pitch it to, it can clear up your vision of where you are in your company and where you would like your company to head and the direction it's taken. And even if when you start putting together everything, if the project actually makes sense, you know. So yeah, so that pitch deck and then obviously presenting it to C15 is kind of like how the process worked. And obviously on there, and they analyze and see if the project has legs and makes sense to invest in.
Mm-hmm. And it took a while. I want to let people know these things it's not done overnight, you know, and it took a while. Actually, from the moment we started talking with Sebastian to the disbursement, to signature was 9 months. Like 9 months.
Yeah, it was a baby. But even before then, we did a lot of like groundwork and background work, like to find the location and everything. I guess in many ways we moved forward as if we almost believed that the investment was coming. And I think that, like, I'm going to use the word manifesting the kind of future that we were hoping for. And then obviously C15 became our partner in the process. But we had the vision and the idea and the goal. We were looking for locations. We were actively on the market. Like I visited more than 30 or 40 locations in Paris with realtors. Yeah, so we did like a lot of groundwork even before an investment was made. You know what I'm saying? So we strongly believed in the project, and we figured one way or another we'd get to where we're trying to go.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I mean, appreciate the honesty, right? Gian, why don't you share similar with us? Tell us a little bit about your brand story, how you met C15, what made you decide to go with them versus somebody else based on research, and then what was your process like? Oh, you're on mute. Let's get you off mute. There we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. And again, thank you for having me today. I think it would be helpful for me to share a little bit of context about Pavilion. So Pavilion is a media and entertainment company primarily focused on Caribbean stories in the diaspora and within the region. We are the largest distributor of Caribbean content worldwide. And our goal is to be the preeminent media and entertainment company for the 21st century and beyond. And so to that end, we have a multifaceted organization. We have distribution, as I had mentioned, where we have distribution partners as Tubi, Amazon, the Roku channel, TCL Televisions, just to name a few. We also have our own streaming service called Pavilion Plus, where you can watch Caribbean content worldwide, where we showcase much of our collection of titles. And we also produce as well. And so our production arm is where we ended up working with C15. We were approached by a producer who has had a visionary idea for a series called Carnival Catwalk. And from our perspective, from a production standpoint, we realized that this was a product that, if done properly, it was very much exportable as a first run product. And what I mean by that is it was a product that we felt that we could take to Netflix versus it was a product just for sort of the local Caribbean community, and then potentially the Caribbean diaspora within that same vein through our existing distribution mechanism. And so from that perspective, the budget increases considerably, right? If we're doing what I would call a local for local production, we're talking in TT dollars or Jamaican dollars, produced locally, distributed locally, with a return on investment expectation aligned with what the market can bear. And that's just a fancy way of saying how much money could we possibly get from sponsors and advertisers on TV that would sort of equate to the maximum budget that we could do. When you're selling internationally, however, the budgets multiply exponentially. And so to produce a project that was of, say, Netflix standard, it meant that we needed to raise funds for in the multiple millions of US dollars to execute that. And so Trinidad and Tobago is unique because we have a number of incentives and tax advantages for people who sponsor local productions, who create the rebate to invest in those elements, or who utilize the rebate and invest in local entertainment products. And so we were able to create a financial model where we knew we were going to get a lot of the budget back. And so with that, it became a question of cash flow, right? How could we get the money that we needed today, knowing that the government would return that money later, sometimes 9, 12 months later. And so that's where our conversations with C15 began, where we were able to present the project, present our financial plan, present our distribution. And again, a lot of this existed within our company's ecosystem. So we had the ability to show how we were going to distribute, discuss our relationships with these major studios and our capacity to get those projects in front of them. But also, as a fallback, we could distribute it ourselves. So we had multiple options for return on investment, but the most secure option was obviously the rebate, right? And so leveraging C15's financing to advance the rebate was the most secure option for C15, because at the end of the day, everything else is speculative. We might take the show out and Netflix is like, no, we're not interested. Or we may put it out and the audience doesn't respond in the way that we want to. So we tried to create the project in a way that it sort of paid for itself, utilizing all of these tax and rebate benefits that the government provided. And that, as a matter of security, gave C15 a lot of peace of mind. And so based on our rebate certificate and some security from one of our production partners, they were prepared to advance those funds, and those funds were able to get us through production and post-production. And now we have a finished product that we've put out. We filed our rebate documentation, and now as we wait for the rebate to come back, C15 has that as their security, knowing that we'll be able to pay them back.
Fantastic. Now, you said, you started talking about some figures. You mentioned millions, and I was like, oh, I hope people probably scared, wait, what? I'm not there. So I wanted to throw out to both of you all, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, right? Because this is a small group of just all business owners who are trying to figure out next steps for them. Do you feel comfortable sharing any numbers, we know we needed this much money, or we got this much money? Could you give a range? And then what did we use the money for? I think you kind of shared a little bit about that, Gianna, towards the end. But if either of you feel comfortable saying, we got this amount of money, I used it for this, and this is what kind of the process looked like after it, or the conversation looked like in terms of paying back and all that kind of stuff. Whatever you can share to help viewers would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have non-disclosure agreements, and this is not just my entity, so I can't share specifics, but I can say it was in the multiple millions of dollars that our budget was. And I would say, our sources and uses were very clear, right? We said, look, we have to make this production. These are all of our expenses as they were related to the production. This is what it's going to take us to get through post-production. And we had a budget. And that's sort of par for the course when you're producing TV and film. So I think that was a little bit more structured and standard. But just if I'm sort of understanding your question or the intention behind the question, I would say that as somebody, I've been doing this for a while, and everybody has to start at the same place, right? You have an idea, you maybe self-fund for a while, you have friends and family who might give you some money so that you can move things forward. At a certain point, there is an inflection point in your journey where I don't want to say you have to get serious, but you have to get structured and organized, right? And so sometimes, passion will get you through the first 6 months, the first year, but at a certain point, you need a lawyer and you need an accountant. If I had money, that's the first thing that I would spend them on. And that doesn't necessarily have to be expensive. You can have people who are investing in you or believe in what you're doing, and they will work with you. But it sets a tone and a foundation for your operating that is going to pay dividends throughout your entire journey. C15 is a bank at the end of the day. They're just the only bank that is willing to work with creators in the region right now. In the US, it's a little different. But no matter who you talk to, whether it's a private investor or a bank or C15, the requirements are going to be the same, right? And the earlier you start thinking like that and preparing that type of documentation, whether or not you're asking for 5,000, 500,000, or 5 million, having that level of rigor helps you as a CEO and as a business owner think through, what is it that I'm doing on paper, not in terms of how I feel in my heart, how much energy I think I have, or how much passion, but what exactly are we doing, and what is it going to cost, and how much revenue do we need to make to sustain that, and what is our plan to make that revenue? I see a lot of times with independent film, people's pitches are like, we're going to go to a film festival, then we're going to get acquired by this studio, and we're going to make a lot of money. And that is it happens, but it's a 1 in a million story. And so I think really thinking through, okay, assume that doesn't happen, what are our fallbacks? And for us, it was, well, we have the Trinidad and Tobago rebate that will pay us out for all of the expenditure that we did, because that's what it's designed to do. And that will cover our debt and cover our debt and our cost of capital, our financing fee. And so from that perspective, C15 and a bank and another investor would be willing to sort of say, okay, that makes sense. And the more you go along that journey and the more cash flow you have coming in, then you can turn a conversation to, okay, are you willing to put in equity with us, because we're demonstrating that we have a growth trajectory, we're already generating revenue, we're already, if not profitable, on the path to profitability. Now we need to scale our operation. And that's when you can start talking to organizations like C15 and beyond about, hey, we need more money to specifically go do this growth activity. But they're still going to ask for the same things they're going to ask you from a debt perspective of your accounting, your budget, your KYC, all of that documentation. And so the more aligned you have, the more aligned you are, I should say, from the jump, the much more streamlined and easier the process would be with C15 or anybody moving forward.
Wow. I mean, I just dropped in the chat, this is gold. And I mean, people came in here like, yeah, I need money. Let me go learn what the C15 thing is about. But I hope everyone recognizes that the information in general applies to anyone that you would try to engage with a conversation with in terms of just trying to acquire some funds, and just what you need to do and be thinking about to be attractive and to be deemed investable by anyone, whether it's C15 or someone else in the US, in the Caribbean, wherever. So I want to really thank you, GN, for like that transparency and like just the nuggets and the gems that you just dropped for everyone who is listening. Bass, I want to jump over to you, and somebody has a specific question for you. So What did you like? You use the financing to do specifically, and what did I would imagine there's no rebate situation like GN described with this particular project. So what did you use your money for? And then like what does like the process in terms of paying back, etc., look like for you? Broadly
Okay.
to someone interested.
Okay, sure. So, well, same as Jan, the exact figures we can't disclose, obviously. So, yeah, our investment was an equity investment in our company. So it's a bit different, the format. The goal is to have a long-term exit strategy, basically. So obviously we have certain KPIs to meet regularly. And the goal is really to grow the company, and pay out cash dividends to the owners yearly when we're more profitable. And then, of course, if we can get a major buyer or investment group for the entire company, a la LVMH, that is kind of like the end goal, if you want. I hope that answered your question. I can't hear you. You're mute.
Just to make sure that it didn't go over anyone's head. So what I heard you say is like your plan was just to increase profitability and then hopefully like get someone to buy the company.
So it was, well, I said it's an equity investment in the company. So it's not a loan. It's not to be refunded per se, anytime soon. The goal is really to grow and scale the company to something massive, where of course we will have profit sharing at the end of the year for all the shareholders. But the real goal is to have a major buyout from fashion house, possibly, why not in Paris?
Yeah. And Judy specifically wanted to know for Baz, like what did you do by way of preparation before you met C15 and getting ready for this big moment, I suppose?
I mean, I work like 24 hours a day on my business every day. So for me, it wasn't very hard to prepare for C15. I don't have multiple businesses. So I'm really focused on my brand and growing our fashion brand as far as we can go. But in terms of I think I could go back to the point of really preparing the document is what, as Gian said, it's good having passion and a bunch of ideas, but you need structure as well. So getting all those ideas down on paper and really seeing my company or what we've built in a proper presentation, proper documentation is kind of what helped prepare for the meeting with C15. And I think the more you know your business in and out, the more you feel prepared to approach C15, a bank, etc. I mean, of course, if you believe in your project and your numbers stand up and everything is there and there is something to invest in, the chances of getting an investor definitely increases. And sorry for the background noise. We have quite a bit of people here.
That's okay. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your transparency as much as you can as well with the process. I wanted to basically give you guys like one final opportunity, I suppose. And we're so appreciative of your time. Just like one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who is considering financing, like they're not sure if this is the right way to go, or they know they want to do that. This is something that they should be doing. Aside from the great tip you gave about making sure you have a great pitch deck.
I think I would say don't get discouraged from a no, or if an investor thinks it's not the right time for them to invest, and don't necessarily take it personally. Maybe it is a chance for you to reflect and say, maybe why didn't this person invest, or why C15 was not interested in my project? Maybe I have to work on XYZ and I need to reapproach them in 1 year,
right?
When maybe my plan or my idea or my business has more merit. So I guess just don't give up. Kind of generic, but it is what it is.
I mean, it's sound advice, right? Like not to give up, period, right? If you listen to any interview from any notable founder, they're going to tell you a story that involves like 99 no's before the one yes and the one breakthrough happen, right? Like so many of us think because we're smart and we did this and we did that, then the first idea, the first action is just going to hit. And it's just like, it's like when you get into the space, you have to rewire your brain. Like, that's not what this is. Like, you have to be used to no's and failure. It's just part of the process, period. Like, it has nothing to do with your ability, right? Your ability or your I guess your capability and like your planning or anything like that. So it's so true. Gian, anything from you before we kind of let you guys go? And thank you for your time with us. I feel like we could have a whole session with both of you, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this is a little counterintuitive, but I think it's been instructive for me. Even if you're looking for equity, and that is what you're going to ask for, I would initially start thinking about it as debt, and also being very clear on the difference between equity and debt, right? But I think by thinking about it as debt, it forces you to be very, very focused on how you're spending money and doing that in a diligent way, and how you expect this money to come back and thinking about that in a realistic way. Because if you have debt that you have to pay down on a schedule that is of a certain amount that is above and beyond sort of the revenue that you're making or profit that you're making, it kind of dissuades you from magical thinking, where it's like, yeah, we're going to make $1 million. And you tell that to an equity investor and they're like, okay, I believe you. And then that doesn't materialize. And then, everybody's upset. But most importantly, you're not getting a return on your time and energy and effort that you're putting into this business as well. And so I think if you can internally satisfy sort of a debt pay down, even if that's over 10 years, when you turn around and say, hey, listen, there's more upside in equity than a fixed return on debt, your investors can see you've done the necessary due diligence to really think about the business and its viability and its profitability. And then the debt just sort of takes away some of the pressure in terms of that monthly or quarterly debt pay down. But you have the opportunity for all of the upside, because I think every creator, and Baz, I'm sure you can attest to this, every entrepreneur is going to work harder than they've ever worked in their life. And people, your financiers, are going to benefit from that hard work. So don't do yourself a disservice. Think about it as though it's your own money that you're lending and you have to pay that debt back. And I think that sets you up for success as you move through any conversation.
I love that. That's such a great gem to think about. I want to make sure that folks know how to follow you, how to support the work that you're doing, spread the word. I just dropped the website for your company, Baz. I want to make sure I'm seeing a lot of Pavilion links pop up, so I want to make sure I get the right URL to drop in. Is it Pavilion? It's not Pavilion Digital. It's not Join Pavilion. What is it, Gian? I want to make sure I get this right.
Yeah, it's pavilionplus.co.
Okay, pavilionplus.co.
With just one L, PAVILION.
Got it.
S.co.
Perfect. All right, I'll make sure I drop that in the chat. Perfect. And yeah, I want to, and I'll also make sure that we drop your socials in here on LinkedIn, so that people could follow and just continue to watch your journey. So I want to just thank both of you guys so much for your time today. Baz, I can't wait to visit Paris and pull up to the store and buy something. It might be sooner than you think. Definitely looking forward to continuing this conversation with you, and just learning a little bit more about the work that you do, and want to know how CBN could definitely pull up and continue to amplify your incredible work in this space. So thank you both so much. Lorraine, you don't go. We're going to wrap things up. But thank you so much.
Take care. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Well, that was super fantastic, right? That we were able to hear from two people, two very different companies, two very different journeys, two very different models of their relationships with C15, right? So I think because they both illuminated this difference, I feel like one of the final questions I wanted to ask you before we wrap up, Lorraine, was just to explain to people what are the different ways that C15 can support with financing. Because
Great.
like Raz mentioned equity, right? And Jan mentioned like we straight up got money, but we knew we had money coming back, so we were good to pay it back. Like I want you to explain all the different possibilities or all the ways that you could support a small creative business.
For sure. Well, it's just three. So one, as Bas said, is equity. So that is when we take we become a shareholder in the company. And, you know, to be able to do that, what he didn't mention was like there had to be a valuation of the company done, obviously, because if you're going to invest money in a company, you have to know what those shares are worth. So there was an evaluation done on the hideout. And equity, as I said, usually you're looking, what is your exit strategy? It's we might want to be on the board of have a representative on the board of the company to see how it's being run and so on. So that's the equity side. And then what we did with Carnival Catwalk was where we did more, it's like a gap financing model where basically they have money that's committed to them through the rebate in Trinidad. And it's almost like we purchase that rebate. We say we're going to advance you the money against that rebate, and it's now assigned to us. So we can do that with grants. We can do that with minimum guarantees from a sale of a film or something, or even sponsorship. So you may get a sponsorship contract that says you're going to be paid, you know, over a year or 6 months, but you need that money right away because you want to fast track something, or you have a commitment from a buyer. Say, for example, let's use the Caribbean. You make a soap maker and you get a big contract from Sandals to supply, you know, all the sandals, but their payment terms are not ideal for you to be able to buy all the raw materials to make the soaps, right? So you could come to us, we would purchase that invoice from you and basically advance you the money, and you assign that when that invoice is paid, as that's what Jan said, when the rebate is paid, that money comes back to us. So there's, you know, a security there. And then the last one would be loans, like a straight loan. You come, you have collateral, you want to borrow money, So those are the three options.
I love that I just dropped the links for you guys in the chat as well to just learn a little bit more about this process with C15 specifically. Again, we wanted to introduce C15 to our community. This is our second time doing this, but again, we wanted this to be a way for you guys to start thinking more concretely about, is this something for me? And if I decide I want to go the route of getting financing, what do I need to do to be attractive? Like how do I need to get ready? So I hope that is the number one takeaway from this experience today. I also, Lorraine, love that you brought up this random example of what if you make soap, right? And like you have this massive order, like you got this really great deal, but like now you need money to produce all the soap and you don't have it. And like, this is a massive opportunity. What are you going to do? I don't think a lot of people realize, especially people who are in a product-based business, that's the way it goes. Like everybody who has a product wants to be on a Walmart shelf. They want to be in Target. They want to be in Sephora. But guess what? When they finally notice you and they're like, great, we love what you do, they'll be like, we want 10,000 samples and we want 5,000, you know, regular size products, deliver it to us. They're not giving you the money to do that. They want you to actually just turn over those products to them. So you have to actually have the money to actually take care of all of that manufacturing. You know what I mean? When you're in conversations with big deals or big box, it doesn't work like they're not giving you money to make this happen. You have to be ready to go. So what you've just shared with us, like financing through a company like C15, you're like, you know, the money's coming, right? So we can help bridge that gap until that money comes to you. Like you got a sponsor, and I know I've been there. The sponsor's like, great, we're going to give you this money, but then it's net 60, 90. pass an event. And I'm like, but
Event pass. Exactly.
I need to produce the event now. Like, I need the money now. So if we show you what it sounds like, if we show C15 proof that like, oh, this money is coming, this is another easy fast track way to get our hands on some cash so we can keep our business going. We can actually, accomplish whatever it is that we'd like to accomplish. Yes?
Exactly.
I love it. I know we are over time, but I feel like, Lorraine, I don't know about you. I feel like this went even better than we thought, right? Like in terms of
a lot better. And I mean, literally, I have to thank Gian and Bas because I literally reached out to them this morning, this morning, So I have to thank them for jumping on, and it was a good, as you said, different products and different businesses and different zones even in the world, So I thought, that was really interesting. And I want to just put a plug here for Caribbean Network and all that you do. Sebastian's outlet in France could benefit some of your entrepreneurs in the sense where if you want to, they actually rent space out like you can do a pop-up in Paris at the Hideout. So if you're really interested,
say less.
Exactly.
Say less. So guys, if you want to learn more about C15 Studios or just in general, what does a company like C15, what are they going to be looking for financing application to decide whether you're attractive or not? Head to their website. They have information there that could be really, really helpful. And specifically, we kept on using the word creative, and the idea is, if we think about the landscape of entrepreneurship, and it's like people are in tech and people in beauty and people here and people there, like out of all the different subcategories, the creative sector is the one where people are like, I don't know, this feels a little risky. So C15 specifically was designed and set up and created as a fund to support creative people, creative Caribbean people. So whether you joined us today, other people, and notice we had somebody on here from Paris. So we're not talking about you have to live in the US or live in the Caribbean. If you have Caribbean heritage in general, right, and you have a creative product or service, C15 specifically is a company that is interested in the work that you're doing, and it does not. Even though we presented two brands that are doing well, they're established. There are many brands that sit on a spectrum in terms of size and scale. So don't think because you're really, really small that you might not be ready. If you have the paperwork and you have the P&L and you have the things that we talked about or mentioned a little briefly, that you'll see the listing, this could be something for you to consider as a viable option for scaling and growth. And just to kind of like pull things up, I think one of the things that I want everyone to take away, one of the main things is like, we need to have a mindset shift here, right? Capital is not the lifeline, it's a launch pad, right? Like it's a launch pad to like that next level of your business. And I want you to think about this with more intentionality. It's not just like, I got money, let me go spend it on this or spend it on that. Like there has to be strategy about how you're getting to this next level. It has to be a very, very clear goal in mind with that. All right. So Lorraine, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us today. Let's keep this going. I feel like we're just starting the work of like just helping people to understand what their options are, because we started off with all the obstacles. The obstacles aren't going anywhere overnight. So as creatives of color, as entrepreneurs of color, as Caribbean people, we need to recognize like, what are all of my options? What are all the options? Do the due diligence and figure out which path is the most practical and sensible for me given my stage of the journey. And there may be some of you right now that financing at this level may be the way forward for you to take your business to the next level. So with that, I want you guys to really, number one, next steps. Next steps are always very important. It's one thing to get information, but now the next step is like, what are you going to do? So number one, I want you to reflect and act and think about the things that you learned today for the first time, whether it's one thing or 5 things, right? Number one, if you are thinking about at some point, whether it's today or in 6 months, like at some point you want to get financing, whether it's sponsorship, investments, a loan, you should have a pitch deck. You should have a very strong company pitch deck that tells everything about your company, your goals, whatever that is. If you don't have one, you need to create one, right? You need to create one. Go and get examples of strong pitch decks and get to work on that. If you have a pitch deck already, bravo. I think that's a really great idea, Miguel. That is a really great idea, and I could do that with my eyes closed. You need to think about what is my pitch deck strong? Like, is it as strong as it could be or should be? Do I still have a lot of work to do? So I love this. I'm going to put a pin on that, and we might see a future Lunch and Learn talking about how to build pitch deck really easily. I love that. And number 2, we mentioned this term P&L a couple of times. This is an incredibly important document as a small business. It's a profit and loss statement. If you happen to have an accountant, a CPA, you probably have one already, or this is somebody that you could talk to about helping you to fashion that and create one of those. Go to ChatGPT, get help, ask for examples of a P&L, and get to work on creating this. This is probably one of the most important documents a small business owner can have. Honestly, the most important, a P&L statement. Anyone who wants to hand you over some money wants to see that document straight up. So I'm giving you homework. These are 2 things that you need to go and work on or refine if you have them already. And of course, there are more Lunch and Learns in the pipeline. The next one is June 25th, going to be led by myself. It's going to be focused on digital marketing. You could head to the website as usual to RSVP, but expect if you're on our email list already, you know the emails will come and you can RSVP and register easily there. And as always, we want you to spread the word about these free free sessions that we do at CBN to help you guys stay afloat, stay competitive, stay in the know. And we want you to be there. We know the bleak percentages of people who fall off before 5 years in business ownership. We want to play a role in diminishing those numbers, at least for Curb Creatives. We want to last beyond 5 years. We want to be around for a really, really long time, where we are so successful, we can talk about having exit strategies where we sell our companies, right? And we're making good money, and we're creating generational wealth. We're creating something beyond us, right? This is bigger than a candle company. This is bigger than art. This is bigger than, right, like having an online, an e-commerce platform. This is about building legacy while you're here and when we are no longer here. So I want to thank you guys for joining us today for the session. If you are a CBN Business Lounge member, you already know where to go. On our platform, you log into the portal and you can see the replay of this. In case you want to, you want to like go back. We'll send an email out for those who could not attend today. But that's one of the biggest questions we get asked every time we have a Lunch and Learn. Where can I watch the replay? The replays are available to all of our members who have a paid membership with us. That's $9.99 a month. You can see a ton of incredible replays just like this piled up in our portal. So we definitely invite you. I'm going to drop the link in there to consider joining because this is information that you would generally have to pay a lot of money for when you attend conferences or workshops, and we bring it to you for free. These are not sponsored events. These are not sponsored sessions. CBN does this for completely free. We try to find talented people from our region, people who look like us, to come to you and share wisdom and information with you. So if you could keep sharing the link, letting people know about this so we can keep this going, so we can make a case of like, look how many people are longing for information, show up for the information, and are thirsty and ready to grow their business and be viable businesses in this landscape. So I want to thank everyone again for joining us. I want to thank you, Lorraine. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep the conversation going. Now you're going to have me reaching out to Baz, like, Baz, let me do a little pop-up now. Right? So yes, I love that idea. I got great ideas today. So
I know. I think that's normal. Today is a day for ideas. So great.
Yes,
Happy we had this opportunity. And I know we're going to be working on more things together, Nicole. We have a lot in the pipeline at C15 that we're building out, and we will be coming back to you all to share and talk about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Desian. Thank you, Latasha. Thank you, Raquel, Salima, everyone who joined today. There's so many of you. I can't go all the names, but really appreciate you and hope you have an incredible rest of your Wednesday.
Thank
We
you.
out. We out. We out.